back to Through the Looking Glass. My name is Lavanya, and I started this podcast this year to talk about the unique millennial struggles, particularly ambitious South Asian space, every day. My goal is to empower listeners, even in the smallest way possible. If you find my podcast and enjoying it, please take a minute to follow and rate my show. It really would make a huge difference for a new podcast and lets me know that I'm doing a good job. If you want to know more about me, follow me on Instagram. Today's episode is about reflection and gratitude. I'm going to start off with talking about 3 milestones that I've achieved this year, 3 things I'm grateful for, 5 lessons that I've learned, followed by 2 things I've discovered about myself, a few of my favorites, and my word of the year for 2024. 2023. First, I want to acknowledge it's been a shit show of a year, and it's a strange time to be human in our society. Feeling powerless as a collective right now seems like something that everyone is going through. It feels like the world has been unstable since maybe even 2016, with the global pandemic and wars and conflicts and so many other things for people in their 20s. It's mixed in with all of the challenges and personal changes that everyone is going through on top of everything else in the world. It can definitely feel overwhelming for our brains to cope. For me, personally, I can't lie, this year's sucked emotionally. I'm not going to go into the details here. I'm not saying this to create sympathy. But I know from the outside, someone's life may seem perfect, especially on social media, but you never know what they're going through. So be kind and focus on your own life. This year has changed me the most as an individual, and that's a direct result of the curveballs being thrown my way. It really has been a year of surprises for me, filled with its own ups and downs like everybody else. So I didn't really do a great job of setting tangible goals. To be honest, that's something that I do want to work on in 2024. Let me know if that's something that you want me to share on the podcast. I did go into the year feeling hopeful, in search of my purpose and wanting to improve the relationships in my life. I was in a search to tap into my creativity. I thought about what I can do that only I can do, and something that I felt would create unique value. So I ended up landing on podcasting, talking about the things that I never really thought that I would in a public way. I had no idea I would love talking to a camera. Never thought of that before, never envisioned that. It's the start of something new, so it feels like the biggest milestone that I've had this year. The second milestone that comes to mind is traveling to France with my sister. That's something that's been on our bucket list since we were teenagers, so it felt really great to share that with her. Another thing that comes to mind is with work. I got to be a lead. That's something that I wanted to do my entire academic career, so I do feel proud of where I am and letting myself feel the wins, big and small. As I insinuated, I've grown a lot individually this year, and I've learned many lessons along the way. So I'm going to pick my top 5 here to share. First, asking someone the question never hurts. You don't know the answer until you ask. So don't hesitate to put yourself out there, and don't assume what the other person is going to say. You miss out on 100% of the opportunities that you don't take, right? I literally get rejected all the time when it comes to my podcast guest. What matters is the people who said yes. I used to be so in my head about inviting guests on, and it would be this source of doubt for me, and I've had to work on that. My second lesson is the power of 1% improvements. Just getting started and taking action is the biggest and hardest thing to do. Reading to the concept called Kaizen, it's a Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement The idea is that everything can be improved and nothing is a status quo. It's something I learned in my engineering education, and I think I subconsciously started applying that in my life this year, particularly with podcasting. I don't mean to be self deprecating, but I sucked a lot at a lot of things. From talking to the camera, editing, or even approaching and coordinating with people. I just tried something that was close enough, maybe 80% there, and really letting go of needing that perfection. So over time, I did polish. I learned as I was going and I made improvements, and I'm still making improvements. I'm still learning. Next thing is trusting your gut. I think I've turned into a human lie detector in some ways. It sounds simple, but sometimes your body can tell you more than you realize. Not everyone has your best interest at heart. The worst of it is sometimes it's even the people closest to you that work against you and go behind your back. I know that can suck, but if you get the vibe that someone is inauthentic, you're probably right. If someone gives you the ick, don't date them. If you feel like there's more to the story, there almost always is. So the next one is pretty close to my heart. Just remember, if you're meant to have it, nothing will stop you from getting it. Nothing will stop it from happening. I've doubted my path before and why certain things haven't worked out for me. At times I've felt something was taken away from me, and that can be so painful and frustrating to deal with. Ultimately, I know I'm being guided to what's best for me so I can end up exactly where I need to be. It takes a lot of inner work to heal, so do the best that you can to let go. Trust the process, and I promise it will make sense one day. The last lesson I want to share today is the power of the word no. This is a very specific one to ask yourself if something is in your best interest. Is it serving your purpose? Is it an obligation? Is it distracting you in some ways? Is it draining you? Don't get sucked into something or doing something or saying something even ultimately if it's not serving you, and especially say no if it's bringing you down in some way and lowering your energy. Maybe this is like a people pleasing tendency, especially with brown girls. Getting comfortable with saying no is your greatest secret power and so liberating. At the end of the day, protect your energy and you matter. So the next thing I want to talk about is gratitude. The first thing I'm grateful for is an old friendship, Maliha, who, if you follow my episodes, know co-hosted a few episodes with me. There's no doubt that I wouldn't have been able to get as many episodes out this year if it wasn't for her help. I was taking on a full load at USC and a full-time job this fall. Even though it's not her call or her passion, she supported me in mine, and that just blows me away. So I'm so grateful for that. The second thing I'm grateful for is also a friendship, but it's a new one. Garima, who I've gotten to know this year a lot, and pretty much realizing that we're the same person. It's brought me a lot of fun and joy into my life, and I needed it the most. The third thing is how much travel I've gotten the opportunity to do this year. It came at a time that I really needed the escape and the time to reset and reinvent myself. I've gotten to go to unexpected places like Singapore and somewhere that I've always wanted to go to, like Paris, and even places close to home like Sedona that really impacted me and my energy this year. If you listen carefully, the universe tells you everything that you need to know and gives you everything that you need at the right time. So the next thing I want to talk about is discoveries about myself that I've made. The first one is about my 9 to 5 job, which was somewhat new. So I had grown into a role and taken leadership. However, I realized that the corporate pace of life isn't really for me. It doesn't bring out the best productivity. It's an interesting challenge for me because I do rely on my engineering career financially. So one of the steps that I'm taking is a much more flexible schedule in 2024. to help me to be more productive. I'll be working from home mostly, so it gives me the possibility to save time and change up the structure of my day to take long breaks, especially so I can go do other commitments like taking care of my health and USC. The second discovery is a little bit more personal. It's about letting go of my anger. I've always been a bit of a hothead and impatient in my younger years. So it's something I've identified as a toxic trait, maybe. However, entering into my late 20s, I really have become a much more patient person. Done a lot of inner work, and healing is a big part of it too. The past couple of years with therapy and shadow work, I've learned to forgive the things from the past that maybe I was holding on to. It's definitely a mindset shift to let go. I try to think about other people's perspectives and what they're going through to act in a certain way. I'm okay taking the higher path, and I'm not so afraid of showing my compassion anymore. I hadn't really noticed that this is something that has shifted for me or that I've made a lot of progress on until a close friend pointed out that I just seem really peaceful, and that's something that they had noticed in me. It was really great to realize that for myself, thinking about the truth that I'm actually a pretty zen person these days, and that's probably how I've been in the recent years. So that's something that sometimes we judge ourselves harshly for the things that we know are our own downfalls. So it's important to recognize your own progress and growth, and it never hurts to get feedback from your friends, especially when it comes to your self-improvement journey. So next I want to talk about my favorite things. So this year my favorite book was The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. This book has changed my life, and I'm not joking. It's such a unique read. It just makes you think about life and art and everything in between. Highly recommend. My favorite song is probably the one that I've listened to the most is Be Kind with Halsey. Sorry I suck at keeping up with new music. And my favorite movie this year is Barbie. I love the lines about it's literally impossible to be a woman. And as promised, my word of the year for 2024 is power. So I really hope you enjoyed listening to my reflection and learned something new. If you're enjoying my podcast, please hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. Take the time to rest and reset this holiday season. And happy holidays and happy New Year's to everyone celebrating. I'll be back in 2024 with season 2 of It's Really Looking